Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Dina Calmetti here. And for today's headlines, I do have a few of them I'd like to share with you, but I also want to remind you that additional headlines will be on my Rumble channel. So make sure to subscribe to the channel over there because recently I have been censored heavily here on YouTube. So you'll get the full story over on my Rumble channel. With that said, let's get into the headlines. A slew of religious smartphone apps are allowing untold millions of users to confess to AI chatbots, some of which claim to be channeling God himself. As the New York Times reported, Apple's App Store is teaming with Christian chatbot apps. One prayer app called Bible Chat claims to be the #1 faith app in the world, boasting over 25 million users. The company's website boasts that our AI was trained exclusively on scripture and developed with guidance from Christian pastors and theologians. But a service called chatwithgod.ai greeted one user with, "Greetings, my child. The future is in God's merciful hands. Do you trust in his divine plan?" Religious leaders told the NYT that these tools could serve as a critical entry point for those looking to find God. A British rabbi named Jonathan Romaine told the paper that there is a whole generation of people who have never been to church or synagogue. Spiritual apps are their way into faith. However, while some users are finding that chatbots are an accessible way to get in touch with their religious side, they're not much more than a cheap parlor trick behind the scenes, essentially reshuffling holy text by using clever statistical modeling. Worse yet, experts worry that AI's strong tendency to please the user may have unintended consequences. They will tell us what we want to hear. Researchers have also warned that countless people are using AI chatbots for companionship, which in extreme cases are driving some into dangerous spirals of delusion in the form of AI psychosis. And the danger of some of these Christian chatbots is that it may give you advice that is not related to scripture. And I want to ask the question, which translation are they using? Now, I'm not saying that every single Christian app is a bad thing, but when they start claiming to be God, we have a problem here. Okay, so if that were not enough, CNA is reporting that an upstart Japanese political party stated on Tuesday the 16th that it will install an artificial intelligence as leader after its maverick founder quit following a disastrous showing in recent elections. The Path to Rebirth Party, which was launched in January by Shinji Ishimaru, and please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, a former mayor of a small city in western Japan, does not have a policy platform, and its members are free to set their own agendas. Apparently, he unexpectedly came second in the 2024 Tokyo election thanks to a successful online campaign, but he quit the party after it failed to pick up any seats in this year's upper house elections. Now, a doctoral student of AI research, Koki Okamura, stated that the new leader will be AI. The student described himself as an assistant to the new leader. Details about the AI are yet to be decided, including when and how it will be implemented. The AI will not dictate political activities of party members, but will focus on decisions such as distribution of its resources among members. So that is a very concerning headline there. And it makes me wonder, how will AI be implemented during the tribulation period? Are we going to see more AI leaders? This is a scary thought, you guys. But for those that are saved and taken in the rapture, we're not going to be here during the tribulation period to see any of this. But I believe, and I've said this before, I think that the image of the beast that Revelation speaks on will be some sort of robot or AI, because the scripture tells us that this statue is going to both move and speak. So I believe that will be AI generated and also sentient, meaning it will have a demonic nature, obviously, because the false prophet and the Antichrist is going to demand that people worship it. So a very interesting piece there. In the meantime, President Trump and the First Lady are meeting with the King and Queen in the UK. Apparently, the president received a stunning gesture from the King during the Guard of Honor. He was invited by the King to walk in front of him, periodically speaking to some of the guardsmen standing to attention. He then thanked the commanding officer profusely, 4 times in fact, for the honor. The president also made a private tribute with the First Lady to the late Queen Elizabeth. In a somber moment, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump laid a wreath on the tomb of Queen Elizabeth, who hosted the Trumps for a state dinner at Buckingham Palace in 2019. And the quiet moment did not take place in front of the press. Now, it also makes me wonder what the president is meeting with the king about. I haven't received any details on that as of yet, but I'm sure we're going to hear more in the days to come. Now, with that said, All Israel News is reporting that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will visit U.S. President Trump at the White House after his scheduled speech at the United Nations General Assembly in New York later this month, which should be a very interesting time due to the fact that they're trying to create this state of Palestine. But the report goes on to say that speaking at a press conference, he convened to limit the damage from his earlier remarks that Israel's economy needed to become more self-reliant. Netanyahu also spoke at length about Gaza as the Israeli military commenced the large-scale operation to take over Gaza City. But the prime minister said that Trump had invited him for a fourth meeting since he returned to office. And this occurred during a phone call on Monday. Netanyahu noted that they had spoken several times since the Israeli strike in Qatar and that all of their talks were good. Media reports suggested that at least one phone call had been tense after Trump was angry at Netanyahu for not updating him sooner about the planned strike. Now, on September 15th, the president posted on his Truth Social, "I have just read a news report that Hamas had moved the hostages above ground to use them as human shields against Israel's ground offensive. I hope the leaders of Hamas know what they're getting into if they do such a thing. This is a human atrocity, the likes of which few people have ever seen before. Don't let this happen or all bets are off. Release all hostages now." So definitely some very serious words coming from the president. The Zero Hedge is reporting that the Western allies continue to bolster defenses of the largest NATO eastern flank country, which borders Ukraine parallel to Russia, ramping up its drone and missile attack across the country. Poland this week has received 38 new M1A2 Abrams tanks from the U.S., marking the largest single delivery so far under a defense agreement signed in 2022, and it was the third delivery under the contract. The delivery brings the total number of American-made tanks delivered to Poland to 85, with more expected through 2026 based on the contract. It goes on further to report that in the wake of last week's Russian drone incursions into Polish airspace, Warsaw officials have only grown more hawkish in wanting to stand up to Russia. For example, in a Monday interview, Polish foreign minister called on NATO countries to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine. He said we as NATO and the EU could be capable of doing this, but it is not a decision that Poland can make alone. It can only be made with its allies. So certainly things are heating up in Poland. And as always, I'll continue to keep you updated. In the meantime, Live Science is reporting that a skyscraper-sized asteroid previously predicted to hit us in 60 years, hopefully we won't be here at that time, will zoom past Earth on September 18th. The asteroid, which was discovered earlier this year, was initially predicted to have a slim chance of hitting our planet in 2089, temporarily earning it a spot at the top of the European Space Agency. But following new observations, it is no longer considered an imminent threat. The space rock, dubbed 2025 FA22, is somewhere between 427 and 950 feet, or 130 and 290 meters across, making it large enough to wipe out a major city if it were to collide with Earth. It will reach its minimum distance to us in the early hours of Thursday, September 18th, coming within 520,000 miles of our planet. So just over twice as far as from the moon, and will be traveling around 24,000 miles per hour. So good thing it's not a risk to the planet anymore, but it is definitely signs in the heavens. Jesus told us throughout the Gospels and even in the book of Revelation that we will see comets, meteors, stars fall from heaven. He also said in Luke that there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. And speaking of the moon, a very deep partial solar eclipse will occur on September 21st, 2025, visible across Antarctica, New Zealand, and parts of southern Australia. At a maximum, the moon will cover up to 85% of the sun's diameter, reaching nearly 80% of the solar disk. Auckland, New Zealand will see about 60% coverage, Wellington 66%, and Christchurch 69%. However, in some Antarctica regions, the coverage will approach 80%. So very interesting that this solar eclipse will occur during the same week of the United Nations meeting that will discuss Israel in a Palestinian state. Now, with that said, in my neck of the woods, it almost appeared that Mount St. Helens had suddenly reawakened on Tuesday afternoon as strong winds stirred up leftover ash from the historic eruption 45 years ago. Images from web cameras monitoring the volcano showed plumes of ash drifting around the crater and surrounding the area of the volcano, nestled in the southern Washington Cascades. However, the U.S. Geological Survey reassured nearby residents that there is no change in the volcano alert level or aviation color code. At this time, Mount St. Helens remains at normal background levels of activity. Some worry that this volcano can blow again, but hopefully it does not anytime soon. However, the Philippine Institute for Seismology reported sustained unrest at the Canloan volcano following a sharp increase in volcanic earthquakes and signs of pressure. A total of 176 volcanic earthquakes were recorded during the 24 hours leading up to September 16th, with 139 events precisely located beneath the volcano. So we are seeing some activity with the volcano in the Philippines. Newsweek is reporting that at least 7 earthquakes have rattled the coast of Alaska in the last 24 hours. And the quakes range from a 2.5 to a 5.2 and stretch across the southwest tip of the state along the Gulf of Alaska. Now, there were no immediate reports of damages or injuries. This particular region is situated along the Aleutian Subduction Zone megathirst, a highly active seismic zone that has generated at least 2 recorded tsunamis in the 20th century. In the meantime, we've been seeing earthquakes in other areas. We had a 6.0 in Papua New Guinea, another 6.0 in Kamchatka, Russia, that happened on September 15th. Papua New Guinea was on the 16th. We had a 5.0 in India on the 14th. We had another 7.4 in Kamchatka, Russia on the 13th. A 5.8 hit off the coast of Oregon on September 9th. A 6.4 in the Vanuatu region on the 9th. We had up to 3,000 that perished from a 6.0 in eastern Afghanistan that happened on the 8th. A 5.9 in Chile-Argentina border on September 4th. And then, of course, a 6.0 in Alaska on September 4th. So we have seen an uptick in earthquake activity and also volcanic activity as well. And we're told in the books of Joel and Acts that we would see fire and billows of smoke. And we're told in the books of Matthew, Mark, and Luke that we would see earthquakes in diverse places. And these are indeed signs of these end days before Christ's return, when Jesus does come back in the rapture and takes the church home with him for 7 years. That 7 years of tribulation, there is going to be a worldwide earthquake. There's going to be many, many more earthquakes during that time. So we are seeing precursors per se right now. So those are your headlines on YouTube. Go over to my Rumble channel. I do have some headlines in regards to Charlie Kirk and President Trump and the FBI investigating additional sources. So go over there and check out the rest of the show. And please do leave your comments below this video. I want to hear from all of you. Also, when you have a free moment, come and visit me on my social media pages as well as my website at www.cww7news.com. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you over on Rumble. And until next time, God bless and stay safe.